Hi, welcome to Game Creation, and in this final video of the week we're going to be just tidying up our code and just getting it hopefully to a really great position for us to look at it later, maybe extend it. Maybe there's other gamepads that we want to bring in. I mean, I've got a drawer full of gamepads, so we've got kind of the Switch Pro controller, we've got the PlayStation controller, we've got the Wii controller, we've got the the 8-bit Do controller. That's a really good controller. Even going back to the GameCube, I've got a bucket full of controllers in here, but the Xbox controller is by far the most popular on the PC. Actually, mouse and keyboard is by far the most popular on the PC. But if you're going to use a controller, you're going to be using an Xbox One or Xbox 360 or an Xbox for Windows controller. So as long as you support that, there's something called Joy to Key, I think it's called, that allows you to use a different controller. And what the program does is it translates it into an Xbox controller. And there's, I think it's the Binding of Isaac. You go into controls and it says, just download Joy to Key. You'll be fine. Just use that. And so everyone can use their controller, and what it does is it just translates their inputs into kind of an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One controller, or just onto the keyboard. So you can always tell your players that if you want to use this weird controller, then please use this. And also Fusion 3, which will come out some point this century, has already promised to really look at the support for different controllers. So hopefully there will be a lot more support going forward with Clickteam. So it's a really exciting time in Clickteam at the moment, with Clickteam Fusion 3 coming out soon. Although I've seen posts back in 2016 saying that it will come soon, so who knows. They've done a good job supporting this product, so I am not going to complain. Anyway, let's get through to the code. So I've opened up the same ones we use this all week. And so if I run it, we can just go left, right, up, down. And if I don't press the Xbox controller, the Xbox button, which I didn't know did that. Okay, so looking at this code, there's a lot I don't like. I don't like the fact that we're repeating this 3 different times, because if I want to change that slightly, say if I want to change the array value for the fact it's movable and things like that, and I will definitely want to do that down the line, or add more conditions to it, I've got to add the conditions in 3 different places each time, and that kind of adds up, and it makes it kind of easier to make a mistake. Now this next bit's not going to be easy, but let's give it a go. So I want a place, and we're going to maybe insert a group of events just for player inputs, if I can at all spell. So this is going to be what the players actually clicked. So whether it's from the keyboard, from the D-pad, from the analog stick, I just want one place where it then translates that into what the players actually pressed. So let's click and drag some of these. And I'm not at all thinking about what's going to happen. I'm just interested in what they've pressed. I've dragged the wrong one. Okay. So within this condition here, they've either clicked right on the keyboard, right on the D-pad, or right on the analog stick. So either of those means that we want them to go right. Now the problem is, you might think that I can use the condition I used before, which is set direction to right. But that's not going to be helpful, because that will bypass this part of the code, and I want to keep this part of the code intact. So I need kind of a different place, and I don't mind using our data store for this, because the data store is nothing to do with the player specifically, but it's to do with the let's have a look at the data store. So if I go in there and let's have a look at the alterable values. So current tile type, current general type. So that's talking about I can't remember what that was talking about. Let's have a look. So that's talking about the dev area. Okay, so that's what the current tile we want to put down is. And don't forget, if you click on the top here, it shows all instances where this object's used either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, or referred to in any condition at all. It's a really, really helpful thing to do. So I might want to create another store, because that seems to be quite specific to the dev area. And let's have this as a different color. And again, we're just going to use this as a data store. And so what I'm going to do is ultrable string. I could use strings for it. Let's do that. And I'm going to say direction. And let's name this. So this will be our direction, or our input data store. So this will store all the inputs. So this will be our input processor. Let's click on here. And so what I want to do, and I'm going to do this as strings just so it's easier. It's actually quicker if you use values, but modern computers, it doesn't matter too much. And the direction is going to be right. Simple as that. So we're going to change all of this monstrosity here, and all we need to do is just replace this top one with ultrable value, ultrable string even. And we're going to say, is the direction equal to right? Now I can delete all this other bit. Don't need any of this. Don't need any of this. I think if I click, if I keep clicking delete, that'll do it. The only thing I need is the condition, and then it will set the direction on the player object to right, and then kick off the whole thing. Now I can envisage there's problems with this, but I'm going to run with it anyway. So run application, and click right. And the player just keeps moving to the right. And the reason the player keeps moving to the right is that once that's set, it never gets kind of undone. So we need to have a kind of think on that, of whether actually this needs to have a moving is off stipulation. So we're going to copy this. Actually, I don't know, how did we do this? Oh, okay, right. So kind of just want to drag this in, and I want to say don't want to click on it like that. Add a new child event. I'm just going to always whatever, because I'm just going to drag this into put that in there. So we're going to have the moving is off in here, and perhaps that's a good idea, and perhaps that's not a good idea. Perhaps actually we want to know whether they're moving up, down, left, or right, even if the moving's off. So that might be something just to consider. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I think that would work. Let's have a look. So if I click right, yeah, it's still doing it. It's always moving right. So that wasn't it. So I'm just going to undo that. Control and Z on the keyboard. So let's have a think about this logically. It's set to right, but it's always going to be set to right, isn't it? So there's nothing stopping it. So maybe we need an always event. Let's try that. Let's try an always event. And I'm going to always switch that. So ultrable string set. I'm going to set direction to nothing. And then that's going to have to override it. And let's see if that works. So click right, and it works. Let's click right on the keyboard, on the analog stick, and that works perfectly. So what you need to do is just clear out that direction thing and let it set it each time. Because this is at the top of the code, this will work nicely. And just every time the pointer is at the top of the code, it then wipes that out, and then this has to like kind of overwrite it. So that works nicely. I'm just going to copy and paste that. So Control and C, Control V. And I'm going to put the other bits in. So we've got left on that, left on that, and that's me getting a text. It's always fun to have. And this time I'm going to change that to left. And I'm going to delete all of this. Copy that in. Move that to the top, delete that, and left. And this seems like a lot of work, but actually when you understand the kind of operation of this, you would kind of do this first time. The reason I've not done this first time is that I wanted to show this as a kind of gradual thing, because I think when you're watching kind of tutorials, these things can get quite daunting when one does everything all at the same time. So hopefully this has been kind of more useful, but we shall see. I've already put those in. I have already put those in. So I just need to do a kind of delete, put that in, put that to the top, delete that, and we're going to have up this time. Perfect, right, okay, let's do the last one. So Control C, Control V, and this time we're going to have the down bit. This is quite soothing, quite calming doing this kind of thing, I don't know why. And then down. So delete all of those. Let's copy this one in, and then we're going to go down. Okay, I always put that at the top because that's the main bit. And I could, right, so that's down and that's down. Let's see if that runs. So I'm going to use the keyboard, so right, left, up, down. Then I'm going to use the controller, so up, down, left, right, and then the analog stick up, down, left, right. Now you might be thinking, hang on, that looks like it's more code than I had before, but I can do a heck of a lot more with that code, and it's a lot easier to read. That there's one part of it looking for what direction the player wants to go in, then the next part of it says can they go in that direction, and then the next part of it is them going in that direction. So let's have a look at the code. So we've got, and let's just close this down. So we've got this bit here is just the player inputs. So this is only looking at what the player's doing. So for instance, if we have a kind of a different area where the player's not controlling themselves, they're controlling a different object or a car or something, or whatever it is, then we still can use this bit. And then this bit here can be, is it in RPG mode? Like, is the player controlling themselves? And we can have a second bit under here for if the player's in the car or whatever. So this just works so much nicer. And there's just distinct places to go. Now, I could add a comment in each of these. So where are we? Insert a comment, and this could say right, and then left, up, and down. But I won't bother because the first bit of it says right, left, up, and down, so it's pretty obvious. But if I wanted to hook in a different controller, say if I wanted to support a PlayStation controller, which is not so easy with Clickteam, then all I need to do is just add another OR logical on this, 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 and this, and it's working. Say if I wanted to use WASD, which is quite common on computer games, I just need to add that into these 4 places. I don't need to worry about anything else. There's no extra code required. This is all the area of the code. If I want to add a new input for right, this is the only place I need to do it. And it's as simple as just dragging this in, double clicking there, pressing D for right. So now if I run my application and I press D, it now goes right. It's so simple. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the cursor keys. But WASD is kind of quite a common way of moving on kind of PC games. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.